We have just finished recording a podcast with Damon Watling of Quality Produce International, and he was speaking across the topic of follow our food. So the journey from grower to grocer and to our plate. And Damon is the middleman. He is the man who works between the grower and the retailers. And it was a great conversation.
So much information in there. And I think Damon may have found the answer to those pesky plastic punnets we get our strawberries in.
Well done, Tracey. I thought it was really interesting when he spoke to the fact that what we say we buy and what we actually buy are two different things. So listen in for that.
Absolutely. And he also has his top tips on where to shop for fresh produce.
And how to enjoy a strawberry in a way maybe you haven't tried before. I can't wait to do it. Anyway, listen in. We can't wait for you to enjoy this conversation as much as we did. We are delighted today to have at our podcast table the delightful Damon Watling, Director of Quality Produce International and co-owner of Heavenly Strawberries, or owner.
Yeah, we financially support the grower in his journey, as we have done since its inception, 20 years ago.
Fantastic.
Roughly, yeah.
Can't wait to hear that story.
Yeah.
Damon has spent his career at the heart of West Australia's fresh produce industry, building strong connections between growers, markets and consumers. As a director at Quality Produce International, Damon plays a pivotal role in ensuring WA families, restaurants and retailers have access to the very best fruit and vegetables sourced with care, handled with precision and delivered with integrity. An avid traveller, Damon has explored food systems around the world, bringing home valuable insights into sustainability, logistics and the importance of quality standards. His passion for evaluating produce is best seen in the creation of Heavenly Strawberries, a brand born from his collaboration with the Liu family in the mid-90s. Together they turned strawberries of exceptional flavour, aroma and appearance into a household name, pioneering branded fresh produce in WA. Their fruit is still carefully handpicked, hand-packed and sugar-tested to ensure every punnet lives up to its name. Heavenly, and I can attest, they're good, they're beautiful. Beyond the industry, Damon is proud father of 2 girls and husband to Jo, with family life always grounding his values around food, connection and quality. Whether at home, around the dinner table or representing WA produce on a global scale, Damon remains dedicated to championing growers, the stories and the hard work behind the food on our plates. So we can't wait to dive into this conversation with you about how our food arrives on our plates. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, you're welcome.
Trace, you've just met Damon.
I have.
Dive in.
I have. Oh, my goodness.
What questions do you need to ask him straight away?
Well, I would like to know about Quality Produce International and how you get the food from the growers onto our plates. What is the
processes?
That's the word, Kate. What are the
Sure.
processes? And I'm sure it may, or I'm guessing it may be different for each producer that you work with. But
It
you
is.
can give us a bit of an idea.
Well, it started in 1977 when my father and his partner decided to get a market floor in the old Wellington Street markets.
Oh,
They started with, not sure it was a pellet of potatoes or a pellet of onions or something, and they put that on the floor and let's see what we can sell. And it grew from there, and now it's a much bigger business. But yes, in those days, those old markets, there were no cool rooms, and it was the buyers would pull up and load on their trucks, and they'd clean out, and they'd start the next day. So the process, in that respect, hasn't really changed.
the
But
situation has, hasn't
yeah,
it? Because
the-
it's not
but-
in
but
Wellington
now-
Street anymore.
yeah, well, the situation's changed. I mean, the Wellington Street market still had the old channels for growers to pull up in their horse and carts
Oh, wow.
and
And-
offload onto the
and
side
find
for it. That
something
was
to
just
sell.
all auction. So they'd just auction every morning. And that auction system slowly changed. Then we moved out to the new market, and
Canning Vale?
now in Canning Vale, we moved out there with a central trading area flanked by a number of warehouses, and it was all still an open market, but it was all flat with coating for forklifts and new machinery. And over time, some of the floors have enclosed their trading floor like we have to be a temperature control space for buyers to come in and inspect the produce and for us to look after it before it gets to
Right.
the truck bay.
What
But
temperature does it sit at?
the temperature sits at, I think, around 11 or 12 degrees.
Mhm.
All the
So
salesmen
like
are well rugged up.
Yeah, it's jumper weather in there.
Yeah, and they're definitely. And within there's different cool rooms that might be on 2 or 3 degrees for strawberries and,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
5 degrees for lettuce and different things that we've got going on in there.
So there's quite a lot of nuance in the management of
Yeah,
what comes in, where it goes,
definitely.
how it
And
can sit.
the growers are still coming in at night. They'll unload into our cool rooms at night. The produce will be pulled out of the cool rooms, checked, and importantly checked that the quality is where it sits. We have expectations, and it's a pretty routine day-to-day thing of we know the growers, we know what they produce, and it's a bit of a look, make sure they've arrived on temperature, they've got down to temperature if they need to, and then they're sent to the trading floor into the controlled temperature and offered for sale. There's through the night there's pre-orders coming through, and there's a team of order pickers that will be busy putting the orders together, and we'll send out about 500 orders every morning.
Wow.
So that's to
Not
go.
don't list them all.
No,
You
no,
need
no,
to
no.
list them all, but
The
to
central
restaurant,
trading area
to
is flanked by two
Yep.
undercover areas.
Yep.
And all the trucks line up in their allotted bay, and the forklifts will be busy taking them out to there, or they'll take them out to the warehouses where the secondary wholesalers are who service restaurants and smaller buyers that don't have the time to come in and select the
Choose
produce.
their own.
right.
We occasionally have some restaurateurs will come in and select their own produce, but it's a long day for them and it doesn't happen very often.
So they're just coming in, checking in every now and then and showing their
Yeah.
face and seeing what's new in season and what's available.
I know, like, for example, Michael Ford, when he had his restaurants, he was coming in for a while, but
It just gets
such a long
too
day, you
accurate.
can't do it.
Yeah.
You want to, but
want
you
to,
have
yeah.
to rely on those secondary wholesalers.
Yeah.
And those
think
restaurants
That's where trust comes into
Yeah.
it. You're making relationships with people.
Yeah.
And yeah, you have to lean on that.
So just stepping back just a little bit, when you say that produce comes in overnight, you know what the growers are bringing into
Yeah,
you
we know
already?
the season starts. The salesmen are in touch with the growers. Oh, what are you bringing tonight? And he might say, the Heavenly grower might say, I've got 5 pallets of strawberries,
Yep.
Heavenly strawberry grade coming in for you to sell, and he'll have a rough idea from day to day, and he'll be pre-selling and taking orders based on
Mm.
what he's expecting, and there'll be some left over that'll just be offered on spec on the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the independent retailers and the smaller stores are doing that. The bigger retailers, Coles, Woolworths, Costco, Aldi,
Mm-hmm.
are buying from a national office,
Okay.
and they'll be sending us purchase orders that are planned through the week. There's not. It used to be when we first moved out to the old market, those buyers were state based, and they would walk around the market
Mhm.
and do the buying with their book, and
Mm.
but that's all gone
Mm.
national now.
Mm.
So yeah, that's
And this is probably why we see not a huge variety and similar things in the big supermarkets
yeah,
because they're playing it safe.
yeah,
They'll do leeks and broccoli and pumpkin and, potatoes and certain leaves, but they're not going to be picking up nuanced
no,
fruit and veg, seasonal fruit and veg.
no, and they're relying heavily on relationships more so because they're at a distance.
Yeah.
And there's less growers than there used to be. There's less suppliers. They have to rely on, and some of the bigger lines are under contract, so you'll tender for a contract for the 12 months in some situations, and you'll be awarded that, and you've got the supply for then, and you've on an agreed price.
Yeah.
On certain lines, which can.
And it's so fascinating. In fact, we were there on whenever it was last week, Friday, I think it was, Thursday. We went and had a tour around the markets.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And love it. Wow. The amount of forklift
Yeah.
whizzing around is
Watch out.
unbelievable. But my biggest bugbear, I wanted to ask everyone, we can only seem to get Kentucky blue beans in like the bean situation. I think it's slightly
as
darker. The green
The
bean,
green beans, the string beans.
the
Yeah.
string-leg
Sweet.
beans. So I
String
asked
beans.
one
Oh,
of one of the wholesalers, like, why isn't there flat beans or string beans
Yeah,
or
that variety.
runner beans, that variety? And he said to me that there's a lot of Asian growers now who will grow the beans, and the Kentucky beans are a
Popular.
a safe bet because they're easier
They
to
grow
grow,
well.
Yeah.
and they know that they hold and they sell well,
Which
etc.
makes
Yeah.
sense.
Which does make sense, but then we've lost that variety, which
Yeah.
is just really my I just get sad about that.
It's the growers are under more and more pressure, and it's. I keep thinking back to when I started with the Heavenly Strawberries. There were more than 100 growers in around the Wanneroo area.
Yeah.
They all had 50 to 200,000 plants in the ground. They're all small growers, and that's when I sort of cut my teeth on starting the sales. I'd go out there and I'd be seeing as many as I can and getting as much fruit as I could. And now they have to grow. So they want to grow a strawberry plant that's going to yield them 4 or 5 punnets in its lifetime.
Of course.
And that's one of the quirks with Heavenly. They're growing an old variety called Albion, which only yields 2 or 3 punnets per plant.
But it's a high quality strawberry.
And so they need a much better return to compensate for the efficiencies of or the yield. So, Heavenlies might be twice the price, but the grower's not getting, he's breaking even just about every year because he's only getting compensated for
He can't get
for
quite
sticking
what
to
he
that variety.
deserves.
So
Yeah.
is it too much of a risk for him then to change variety? And when you say an
Yeah.
old variety, what's an old variety?
Albion, I'm not
2
quite sure
years,
how long it's
5
been
years,
around.
10
No,
years?
Albion would have been around. I don't know the history well enough, but it would have been at least 20 or 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I know some strawberry growers who will put new strawberries in
Yeah,
every
and the
couple of
big-
years to get
Yep.
that yield up as well, which is very
Yeah. How long does
Yeah,
the
yeah.
strawberry plant usually last? How long does it yield for?
Well, they can. They're not. They're not supposed to, and they don't really. But they can propagate from.
Okay.
They buy their plants every year fresh from
Yeah.
runners from
Okay.
Tulangi,
Yeah.
mostly
Yeah.
in Queensland, and they're
Mhm.
shipped over in boxes, and they're planted in those black plastic rows.
So fresh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fresh every year.
Yeah.
So it's an old variety because you know that it's
No,
quality,
yeah.
it's got high sugar, and
Yeah.
it presents beautifully
can
and keeps
Produce a full color. You get
Yeah.
varieties that
Yeah.
have a lot of white
Yeah.
shoulder and not the right color.
I had a very tasteless strawberry yesterday, and I was thinking
Yeah.
of you going, oh, I really hope Heavenly Strawberries are starting
Yeah.
to come out soon.
Yeah.
It's nice to be able to rely on a brand,
Yeah.
and I don't think there's many that you can.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, do you make an effort to keep a broad supply of fruit and vegetables? Is that on your mind as the owner of QPI?
Not necessarily. We're focusing on the structure of a business is each there's about 10 salesmen, and they've got this is what they're good at. This is what they specialize in. So I've passed my experience on to Scott Williams, who does the strawberries and he does the dates, does some grapes and some berries, blueberries.
Yeah.
And so that's his wheelhouse, and that's what he looks after, and he just tries to do that as well as he
Specialises in that
can. Yeah.
area.
And we've got someone that's just looking after citrus, and the veg guys as well. All have there's 3 or 4 veg guys, and they've got their own products. And
Sure.
that's what they're. So
And
they're
how
getting
many-
their growers to
I think
plant.
that's amazing to learn.
Yeah.
That you have a speciality like.
But it makes sense. I mean, in so many
Yeah.
other walks
Yeah.
of life, you would specialise
Exactly.
in
Yeah.
what you do
Yeah.
in a workplace. So
Yeah.
you've got big enough that you can afford to have these people under your umbrella, getting all of the best information about a certain area of fruit and veg.
And knowing exactly what's good and what's not quite.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
So what keeps you passionate about fruit and veg? I mean, it's been years and you've done some amazing things and you've traveled the world. What is it that keeps you wanting to maintain high qualities?
Yeah. I
in your
mean,
business?
when I started, so I went. I left. I did uni for 6 months and decided I had enough of studying, and I went over to the UK for a couple of years and tried a few different jobs. Then decided one middle of one London winter that I've had enough. I need to go back home and come back to this beautiful weather we have in Perth.
Yeah.
And I wanted to try and I had worked in the market before, and it still appealed to me, so I came back. And the appeal of the market is it's dealing with a product that it's people need to eat every day. People are passionate about it just because of its nature, and the banter in the market between the buyers and the sales. It's got as you've
A
sort of
vibe.
seen when
It's a
you came in.
vibe.
There's a lot of life, even though
Oh,
it's
it's a
become
huge community.
Yeah.
it's
Still business. But
it's still
everyone gets
business,
on
and
okay.
it's probably not got the same. They used to the it's still very multicultural. Used to be very Italian.
Yeah.
The old joke in the old markets was you'd find a new kid and say, "Go and deliver this to Mario who drives a white truck."
You'd
Good luck
probably
finding
find
him.
a couple.
Yeah.
You'd still find a couple.
So it's multicultural, and it's good fun, and I'm more in the office these days. But in terms of selling and sourcing, I'm mainly focusing on medjool dates, and I enjoy that. And I've just come back from Mexico and the USA, seeing the harvest, and so I'm still involved in, and that's probably what I enjoy.
So you're
most.
still chasing the best quality for the
Yeah.
best price to be supplied to,
Yeah.
to your buyers.
At
Yeah,
the end
still
of the
very
day,
involved in that.
yeah, at the end of the day, it's taste that matters.
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
at the end of the day, isn't it? When you put it in your mouth, as you said, that
Yeah.
strawberry that was very
Oh.
tasteless, you wouldn't go and buy whatever brand that was again.
Yeah.
And it's so important that you get to know the growers for you as a wholesaler, as
Yeah.
it is for me as a mere consumer. I love knowing where my food has come from.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think a lot of
so
people, it
good.
surprises people how much they enjoy being told about where their food
Yeah.
comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was saying I took my husband to a gorgeous lunch, and we had
Mm.
the wine growers speak, and we had the chef speak and talk about provenance. And Jamie had never really had that experience before, and he was
Yeah.
so excited. And I was really blown away
Yeah.
by how much he enjoyed
Yeah.
having
Yeah.
that discussion or hearing that information.
Yeah.
And it's so much that you don't know, like having you in here, for us to speak to you being a wholesaler and working out the Canning Vale markets is just absolutely
It's a whole other
fascinating.
world.
And so you're involved with importing as well as selling local
Yeah.
produce.
Our core of our business revolves around servicing the West Australian market.
Yeah.
And a bit of a sort of side gig to that we've sort of kept going is the medjool dates that we distribute nationally, and we'll also bring in things like we bring in Dutch shallots, which the season will start, and that's to supplement the Tasmanian shallots.
So we don't really grow enough shallots.
Not enough.
Australia
No,
for
there's a decent amount
what-
coming out of Tasmania, but certainly the market can cope with a certain amount of the Dutch.
We need
So-
to get more people on the land to grow all these.
I know,
don't we?
I know. Shallot,
Yeah.
that's your next
That's my little business.
side
Sorry.
hustle. What is the kind of import-export situation as you see it with what we're growing, exporting out of WA and what we need to bring in to keep the balance?
There's a few good examples where we've started growing some self-sufficient products. The blueberry and raspberry market, for example, is just when I was doing the strawberries, the most blueberries I'd get would be a small pellet from Treaton Farms down south. Really expensive
Yes.
little blueberries
Not
that-
necessarily the best.
that were worth a
blueberries.
fortune, and they were pretty rough and they wouldn't last long. And now the new varieties have been imported and grown under license by Driscoll, and people like Berry Sweet, Anthony Ewer and Bullsbrook grow
Yeah.
big quantity of those, but we didn't have those, so they're being grown in WA, and that's a great thing. And the berry market, it's huge category
Massive,
now.
isn't it? Yeah.
I can remember back in the day, it felt like berries just came on for Christmas and they were imported maybe from New Zealand or
Yeah, we used to get
Tasmania.
some New Zealand ones and some ones from the East Coast.
Yeah, and now it's pretty solid
Yeah.
supply.
And
And
there's still people doing independent as well, blueberry growing. And we're going to go
yeah,
into Albany in
yeah,
a few weeks' time, and
yeah,
we're going to go and meet independent blueberry
yeah,
growers down there, which
yep,
was just fantastic, and talk about the different varieties of
yeah,
blueberries as well, because
yeah.
they're not all made the same.
No.
No,
Mm,
no, that's right.
mm.
And there's examples like Kimberley asparagus
Yes.
that's a
Yeah.
great example of, we still import uh, asparagus because we need to supplement the supply, and it still comes from Mexico. But we used to do Mexican and Peru asparagus, but it's such a long journey.
It
You
quite
know, air
often looks
freighting
nasty on
asparagus
shelves.
can go wrong very quickly,
Mm.
and you do one small load, and just the freight is $20,000.
Wow.
And if something goes wrong,
Oh,
who's going to
that's
pay for that? It's
massive
a
risk.
At
big
what
risk,
stage?
and it's not very good. So,
At what stage do you go, we don't need to have that asparagus?
well, it's a case of
Good
Consumer.
question.
well, yeah, well, we need to be able to grow it here, and there's people smarter than me that work out that we can like Ben growing it in Broome, the trialed in Broome, and it's actually went really well. So that's expanded. They're doing the same thing with Frutico, have done the same thing with grapes.
Sure.
Mm.
Yeah.
The story behind that is the people saw these varieties grown in Israel in
Similar conditions.
similar conditions, but pretty tough soil, and they thought, well, if they can grow them here,
Yeah.
why don't we try them in Western Australia?
Yeah, yeah.
So they did.
There's probably a lot we could take from the
They're
Middle
growing
East.
them down south now, and they're growing them. They're starting to grow them in Broome, and that's gone really well. So we've got, again, back in the day when I was doing the strawberries, I would do all I could get was red globe grapes from
Yeah.
from Harvey and from
Yeah.
those areas.
Times, red globes.
Yeah, yeah,
With
and
pigs in them.
they all had big seeds in them.
Brothers and
Yeah,
sisters.
yeah.
We did used to export those, so there was an export market there, and we used to export. A long time ago, we used to do mixed loads of produce, but that market it's
Has
got
dwindled.
harder and harder and
Yeah.
dwindled, and it's
Tracey, I wanted to introduce our listeners to our proud Series 1 podcast sponsor, Urban Forager. They make the most delicious organic stock concentrate in WA, and they're great friends of ours.
Oh, absolutely. And it is just full of flavour and real ingredients with no nasties in.
Love that.
Thing that I love about it as well is once it's opened, it keeps in the fridge for up to 12 months.
Not in my house because we've always used it well and truly before then.
Yeah, it's so useful and it's such great value.
Yeah.
So making 1 litre of stock is just over $2, and there's 10 litres in that little jar.
Fantastic to have in there. And because it's a concentrate, I use it in a variety of ways. It's super versatile, not just soup, but also I might throw it into meatballs, dips, dressings, sauces. I love it. Delicious.
Absolutely. So everyone jump online to urbanforager.com.au where you can get 20% off.
You just need to use code CURIOUS20 for 20% off when you shop with Urban Forager. Thanks, guys.
Enjoy.
Well, in honour of
I
asparagus,
was going to say,
Yeah.
I love the asparagus.
so every week
conversation.
we have a recipe that we share, and because of your association with Kimberley asparagus, I made an asparagus tart, but I also, which we'll have afterwards, because we can't eat and talk.
We can't.
I mean,
It
I
doesn't go
probably
well.
could, but
Well,
most
I've
people
tried it
can't.
as well, but it's
And
can't
I'm
do it
also
well.
going to plug a couple of other little locals.
Yeah.
yeah.
So to keep it easy, I went Empire Pastry. So they're from the Perth Hills, and they do the most beautiful short crust and puff pastry.
And I think they use Australian butter as well in there.
They do,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is, it's a little bit more expensive than
Oh,
some other
oh.
brands, but it's well worth it. And then I just thought this would go so well with the gorgeous jam chili from Franklin and Clement. Shameless
The M
plugs.
makes- the
Shameless
M
plugs for
makes
local
by
produce.
hand.
Yeah.
The M makes
By hand.
Amazing stuff. Anyway.
So we'll try that later on.
Nice.
Nothing quite as easy as an asparagus tart, bit of ricotta and, bit of pastry, and everybody's
Looks
happy.
Really stunning,
Right.
doesn't it? Absolutely beautiful. Asparagus is such a versatile vegetable. I had some asparagus last night. I just chucked them in the oven and roasted them 7 minutes, and there they were. Absolutely.
When does
beautiful.
Kimberley asparagus kick
That's
Remember?
no, it's just finished.
Okay.
Yeah, it's finished a few weeks ago, I believe. It's a fairly short season, but they're,
It's May to
every year they're getting
Longer.
May to
longer.
August.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
They have got the most amazing video that they created, which shows literally, inception to the journey of the asparagus along the road. They've put a camera on a bunch of asparagus and then they've
Really?
taken it into the shop. And have you
Yeah.
not seen it? It's
No, I love that. I wanted to
great.
do that with medjool dates, and I haven't got around to it yet. Like from the farm in Mexico all the way to
Have a look.
Wow.
yeah. I did a little Instagram thing, I think, a little while ago, and I got an animator to do, like from Raiders of the Lost Ark, an old a container ship sort of going across the globe to Fremantle Port. It's just,
Yeah.
I kind of got
Show
halfway
people
there.
what the
And,
journey was.
yeah.
So watch out for that. It'll be out in
Cinemas soon.
2030.
Yeah.
Damon's got a hat on and he's cracking the whip.
Yes.
Get the medjool dates here.
I could have done some videoing while I was over there, but yeah.
The thing that intrigues me a lot as well with asparagus is how they can grow it up in the Kimberley, because it's a fairly new thing, isn't it? 2018 or something.
Yeah.
They started experimenting.
Yep.
Fantastic that we can then extend our asparagus, our
Yeah.
asparagus season from May right the way through. We've got Albany asparagus now. But the thing that fascinates me is how can they grow asparagus, say, down in the Southern Forest and down as far as Albany goes, but then up in the red soil
Yeah.
in the Kimberley as
And
well.
is it quite a different product? Like, I must admit, I haven't noted. So when you try Kimberley asparagus next to a
Be interesting, wouldn't it?
Great Southern Forests asparagus,
Mm.
have you noted any difference?
I haven't.
Kimberley's
because I
quite
have-
lean, a lean spear,
Yeah.
isn't it?
The Southwest
Okay.
product is
fatter.
quite thick, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
is that the only difference that you can see?
Yes, as
with-
far as I know, that's
with
the only
two
difference I see. Yeah.
Asparagus.
Okay, we've
Is
got to
that-
put that on our list of things to
Yes,
discover.
Must do.
Must do.
Yes,
Side by
absolutely.
side asparagus testing.
Fascinating. Fascinating.
So,
but
what would surprise us about something that food goes through, or part of the journey of food? Is there something we don't know and we should really understand?
I think it's like we discussed before. It's the journey that it goes through, and I think you walk into some of these big retailers, and there might be a cardboard cutout of the retailer's employees with their arm around the grower, saying, we're getting it
We love
straight
our-
from the farm. And I think what they want people to think is they've walked
Spoken
in
to
and,
that
and,
person.
and that grower has just dropped their
mm.
pallet at the back door, and it's just landed on the shelf, and that's not the reality.
That's marketing.
That's marketing. But I mean, to be fair, they do have partnerships with some big growers, and they have interest-free loans to help the growers
Sure. To help support them.
if they think there's a good future.
Yeah.
And they've done that with there's Australian medjool dates that are growing that they need support with, that
Yeah.
they've done, but it's not the whole story. And a lot of the produce, most of it, comes through the central market, and it needs to be looked after well, and needs to be temperature
Sure.
controlled and managed well, and needs to get to the consumer as quickly as possible. The longer it takes, the more nutritional value it loses. I mean, we know that, but I think a lot of people don't.
Yes.
And to me, to go and save a few dollars at a cheaper retailer, whether it be a major or an independent or a small guy, if
If they're not
if
managing.
you've saved
well.
$1, but the stock's it's 5 days older than it should be, and you've lost most of its nutritional value, what's the point?
Yeah.
Well, with nutritional value goes taste. And it's
Yeah.
with asparagus, like I must
Yeah.
admit that the asparagus I had last night was pretty tasteless because I bought it last week, forgot it was in my fridge, and then came back from being away at the weekend and went, oh my gosh, I must cook that asparagus.
Yeah.
Snapped the bottom off, and I was taking off like
Yeah.
a third of the
Large.
asparagus as
Yeah.
well, of the
Yeah.
stem.
Yeah.
Whereas when they're super fresh, you just need to literally peel the base off and, just use a peeler to peel
Yeah.
the outer.
So did you
And-
hear it calling from the crisper? Eat me, Tracey, I'm still here.
You're so mean. It's like you've left us in the fridge
You've
for
cut
so
me
long.
and bought me.
They all speak like that.
Yeah.
Asparagus,
And then you left
factory.
me in here.
But yeah, so it ran out of flavour. So,
Yeah.
it's, I mean, it would be good for fiber still because it's,
Yeah.
it's great
Can we
probiotics.
debunk or
Yeah,
or
let's do a bit.
solidify the information around apples
Mhm.
and how people just go, oh, they're in the fridge for months,
Oh, it's so
6
clever
months,
how
a year,
they're
whatever,
stored.
and there are apples on the shop shelves all the time. And
Mm.
certainly, I buy some very disappointing apples, even though I do I feel like I've held a heavy apple and
Mm.
it still feels reasonable.
Yeah.
What's the truth behind how long an apple might be stored?
Yeah. We're not. That's
Apple
not
people,
something
are you?
Not really. It's
Mm.
not something I'm really
Well, then
qualified to answer.
you can give away any secrets you might know because you're not going to get in trouble.
I think apples can be stored up to 12 months.
But
Yeah.
what happens to the nutrition
Yeah.
value?
That's the question.
The whole
You
thing
don't
is,
know.
I've
the whole
yeah.
thing is that they just remove the oxygen mainly from
Yeah.
the storage,
Yeah.
so it just slows down the ripening process. Hence, they can keep them for longer.
Yeah.
Whether
And
the
that in turn.
nutritional program,
Is maintained.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I think it would be to a certain extent. And most apples, like I know that Royal Gala's a first apple off the tree when in the new season, and WA sells out
Yeah.
Royal
Mm.
Galas. They
Yeah.
can't grow enough, and then the other apples start coming in, and then the pink ladies are the last, and the pink ladies actually store really well,
Yeah,
so
they're
that
around
they
a
will
lot.
be around most
Yeah.
of the year.
I think the difference is if it's deliberate managed storage, that's
Absolutely.
fine.
Mm.
It's still going to have nutritional value, and it means we
Mm.
can have apples for longer.
Yep.
But if you're talking about other products that
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 aren't as
not
don't hold
deliberately
as well.
stored, they're around longer through mismanagement, then that's when it's a
I
problem.
think that's what happened to your strawberries.
Yeah, they looked
Too long.
okay.
I
They
know.
definitely had a white shoulder, but there was just nothing.
But I always think
taste.
you should
Yeah.
eat strawberries almost like 24, 36 hours,
Yeah.
48 hours after. Like, bring
But
your
what's the
strawberries home.
reality? How long after coming off the strawberry bush are we typically eating a strawberry?
Well,
It's difficult to say, isn't
yeah,
it? It depends where you buy it from.
depends where you buy them, but
Mm.
it also it's related heavily to the varieties that we're now growing. The growers are like I said, there was over 100 growers. Now there probably be somewhere
Handful.
between maybe a dozen, bit more.
Mm.
There's a couple of really big ones, and then there's a few smaller ones, but they're under so much pressure to grow
Just make it happen.
to make it
Push
happen.
them out.
They got to get their yield, and they got to get. They've always said they need $1 a punnet to break even.
Sure.
That doesn't seem to have changed. What their costs have gone up, but they've got different varieties that yield better, and flavour is secondary.
Yeah. Which I think is mad, but to
Yeah.
be honest, I have not taken into consideration, I haven't memorized what the brand was that I ate. And I guess
Yeah.
people are relying on that
Yeah.
a little bit because there's about 10 different
Mm.
brand stickers I see rolling
Yeah.
through in the shops at the moment.
Mm.
So I've already forgotten which brand it was.
Mm.
And maybe
Yeah.
they've got their fingers
So-
crossed,
Yeah.
taking much notice.
As a strawberry grower and as an anything grower, from the time
strawberries. Sorry, keep
as if one was a strawberry grower,
yes.
or grower of anything, you have to rely very heavily on the wholesaler and the retailer to store that product correctly and move it through quickly enough to give the consumer flavor and nutrition. And we can't measure nutrition at the moment.
Temperature, how the product is held, has a lot to do with it too, because it's obviously not going to last as long, but it's going to ripen, deteriorate,
Yep.
break down quicker, and not all of our competitors even have enclosed spaces where they sell their produce.
Yeah.
It gets in the middle of
Can't
summer,
look in
and
that, yeah,
and
green
a
as
certain competitor across the road from us that
Ambient.
specializes in berries will have their berries out all morning.
Wow.
And
So they're
I mean,
really
they
going
pack
to-
up fairly early, but in summer it's still they've got to be
very-
at 2 degrees. So we offer our strawberries in particular in a room that's we open the doors, leave the cool room on, and they're actually sold out of a 2-degree
Yeah.
room,
Yeah.
and we just look after them as well as we can. And when we're delivering to the buyers, the 500 deliveries we're doing, it's all managed by finding out when they want their produce, delivering it exactly that time or as the latest time. And we've developed an app where we send them an SMS to say your order's on the way,
Fantastic.
so they can get it on their truck, get it back to
Yep.
the shop, and maintain that cool chain so it can be as good as it can
So
possibly be.
technology is really
Yes.
starting to play a part
Yeah.
between the refrigeration, understanding how they're going to be
Mm.
kept the best, and then communication technology.
And at the end of the day, you want them to be sold at
Premium,
time.
quality.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because people will come back and they will search out heavenly strawberries because they know that they are handled correctly once they've been picked. They're handled correctly, and
We're going to have to ask Damon for some money as an
For some-
episode sponsor, because I feel like we've said Heavenly Strawberries
Yeah.
55 times,
Yeah.
which is fine. They are fabulous.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about packaging and how that's changed and how that affects, how you've seen that kind of affect the transportation of produce and, what you're seeing in the market now in comparison to what was around 10 years ago. Matters of Taste food discovery tours are all about connection. From city streets to country back roads, we take you behind the scenes across WA to meet the people growing and making your food. Taste incredible produce, share stories, and join a community of food lovers on one-of-a-kind adventures you'll never forget. Explore upcoming tours at mattersoftaste.com.au.
Yeah, it's the branding sort of starts from the grower with the branding story, and growers that are prepared to enthusiastic about branding their produce and looking after it. In Western Australia, we're the only state that still uses a lot of plastic crates. So the crates that come down from Carnarvon, and it's easy for the grower,
But
but
reused?
they're
Yeah,
reused,
they
they're
do
washed
get
at the crates and they're
recycled,
recycled. So that's a good thing. But
still.
but then you get growers like we get citrus from the East Coast, Venus citrus, that just do the most amazing job. They'll hand pack citrus, and every second row is orange might be wrapped in a tissue paper with their brand on it.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just they really take pride in, and that was the elevation of that strawberry brand we were talking about.
Yeah.
To lift them above what the others, and there's a lot of growers that recognise that. And the packaging side of things comes with that. They've got to identify their produce. They've got to put it in something that stands out.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're never going to get away from plastic punnets
Completely.
for strawberries and other things, but there's new technology we've been looking at a couple of compostable options. We should talk about banana bags, because that's people's pet hate.
Peeve.
I get that.
Mhm.
And there's for medjool dates and strawberries and other things in punnets, we can now do completely clear compostable punnets. The early technology, they're cloudy, and you want to be able to see the produce. That's what it's all about, and look after it.
It'd be interesting to sell them side by side one year without making a
Yeah.
fuss and go, that side's our compostable, recyclable, whatever it is. And it is a bit cloudy and the fruit doesn't look maybe quite as vibrant inside there, and then have your original packaging and just see what people, and even with a sign to let people know and see what people still choose to.
Well, that'd be a really interesting experiment, because what people say they want, whether we only want to buy West Australian, or we only want to buy this, what they actually do is a
It's totally
completely
different.
different story.
Tell us more.
Yeah.
We want to know, like, consumer behavior
Yeah.
is not the same as what we're all talking about over the dinner table or across a coffee or.
No. I mean, people have a lot of idealistic ideas when they walk into a retailer, a supermarket, or a IGA, or whoever they're walking into. But when they say, I only want to buy local, but if we can get an imported product that's $2 a kilo and the local is $4 a kilo.
Yeah.
When things are tight and they have to make that decision, that's
a
what
reasonable
drives them.
decision for that person's family. That's what they can achieve.
Yeah, that's
that
right.
day.
That's right. You don't know it blames anybody for doing that, but that's just the reality. That's not what people say.
We're not as
And
supportive in
yeah,
Western Australia, and possibly
Yeah.
everywhere else,
Yeah.
as we say we're going to be. I know, having dealt with retailers and talking about milk,
Mm.
they're like, people just buy the cheapest milk, the end.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's it.
Which, and you can't argue with that, because they're
No.
there every day watching those
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
milk
That's right.
go
If-
through the
Yeah.
go through the checkout,
Yeah.
and they know
very
what they're talking
privileged
about.
to have a choice and be
Yeah.
able to make that choice
Yeah.
and say no. I'd rather
Yeah.
go for something local.
You are in a position of privilege when you are
Yeah.
choosing,
Yeah.
choosing what you eat. And we had Matthew Evans on recently, and he was talking about the fact that, only a very small 3% of people choose what they eat.
In the world, have
Really?
a choice.
Most people
Is that right? Wow.
just eat what is
3%.
available in front of them
Mm.
on any given day.
Yeah. Wow.
So
Phenomenal, isn't it?
we're the
It's amazing.
3%ers.
Yeah.
But just
Yeah.
quickly getting back to the packaging thing, it's just really interesting because talking again about the blueberry grower down south in Albany, or just in between Albany and Denmark, they were the first guys to actually bring over cardboard blueberry punnets from Queensland. That's the only place they could get it from.
Yep.
And
And they're open punnets that they're selling.
no, they're not open punnets.
Yeah.
They're closed punnets.
difficult.
So this is the thing. But they said that even the retailers came back to them and said, look, good on you for doing that, but people aren't buying them because they can't see the blueberries.
Yeah.
But as Jonathan said to me, what do you do with eggs?
Mm.
You open
And have a look.
and have
Yeah.
a look
Yeah. Yeah.
and close the punnet.
And check.
Put it in your,
It's just a habit. Yeah.
It's
But you've got to
educating
educate
consumers about that. So for me, I know that I love Bannister Downs milk because I know how it's made and I know where it comes from.
Yeah.
Trust the brand.
I trust the brand.
Yeah.
And with brand trust, it's becoming very obvious that that's so important. I would buy Heavenly Strawberries from a slightly milky punnet because I know
You know what's behind it.
where it's grown, exactly
Yeah.
the bit behind. But that's because I know that then that punnet, I could recycle it, or it's been made from recycled
That
material.
brand is in a position to take that step, but not many are.
Exactly, because they've built that story, Bannister Downs.
But it's
of
also
being trustworthy, and that's what
it's
they are.
educating the middleman. So you educating the retailer, and let's say you wanted to put strawberries in a cardboard punnet, like I'm seeing cherry tomatoes in now, and because they're bigger, you can afford to have little peaky kind of holes so you can see.
So they don't drop out.
But I do always open my punnets. But if the retailer piles them up and has 3 or 4 open, that's really all you need to go, this is the quality that you're buying.
Some of the problem with cardboard, though, is if you've got a strawberry, that cardboard will start to soak up the moisture in the strawberry, so it doesn't last as long. But there we go back to buying and storing and then selling it quickly to the consumer. So it's a very complex story, isn't it? But
It is.
from the field or the greenhouse or whatever to the
Finding its way to your plate.
strawberry on your plate, it's a very complex process.
It
It's not
is.
just as easy.
I'd love to see that getting back to the compostable, the experiment, and see what they buy, because I can get the compostable punnets now from China at the same price. So
And you're legally allowed
been more
to use them
expensive.
now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's where we're starting trials with the medjool dates, but I can and the only reason we haven't started with strawberries yet is because at the moment the strawberry punnets are pre-labeled, manufactured in China.
Yeah.
So in terms of getting back to the farm labor, they don't have the days of labeling all the punnets. They just arrive labeled, and they're just going to pack strawberries in and they're done. But I've had conversations with bigger supermarkets about compostable punnets and their appetite for them. And they've actually said to me that they would prefer recyclable punnets over compostable. And I kind of get that, because the narrative around that is the consumer wants to go in and buy their punnet of dates or strawberries
And
or
see
whatever it
the
might
word
be,
recycle.
and go, it's recyclable. I can put it in my yellow bin. But we know that in Australia, probably it's less than 10% are actually recycled, and it's only a little more globally, or even less, I think. So then you say, well, you're saying to the retailer, well, would you do you want a punnet that's going to break down in 450 years and leave microplastics, or do you want one that's just going to disappear and not harm our environment? And and the answer is still no, thanks. We'll have recyclable because the consumer feels good about buying that. Stick it in there. It's so
Feels
frustrating.
like you
Isn't
need to
it?
bypass the retailer and make as much noise as possible until the
Yeah.
retailer needs to backpedal and uptake,
And then
which is not easy.
No,
It's a lot
that's
of
right.
energy.
Well, we're going to start packing some of the dates overseas in compostable punnets, and they're going to be here. So it'll be
See
which one
see
do you
what
want,
happens.
and it's not going to happen unless we just
Do it.
try and do it.
Step off the cliff and hope that people
Yeah,
appreciate
that's right.
that.
And I've offered them to a large berry grower in California as well, which they might be giving them a try. So yeah.
Okay,
Great.
So that would
Spread
be
the
really
words,
It'd
Damon.
be interesting to see if smaller retailers would actually take up the challenge to sign everything properly, because
Yeah.
quite often, like things like potatoes, you get red potatoes or white potatoes. What variety are they? Because
yeah.
then you start to learn how they cook, and if you want them lovely and fluffy and crispy from the oven as roasted potatoes, or if you want them, light and fluffy as a mash, and you don't want the old
Even WA potatoes doesn't speak to particular types of potatoes. They just
So
speak to
frustrating.
red, white, which is just so the layperson, the everyday
Yeah.
consumer can just go, a red does that, and otherwise, obviously too much information.
Yeah.
But it would be great to have that support of the smaller retails to say, like, an easy to read label, but this is the story behind these strawberries and why they're in and slightly milky cut, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So that you educate people, and the people that care at the smaller retailers, maybe who care
Or the
about those
people who
things
can afford to
understand. Exactly.
care at the time.
and
Get on board.
absolutely.
You've travelled
very
so
interesting.
much, Damon. What are some kind of food handling or sustainability ideas that you've seen overseas and wanted to bring home or have started to outside, obviously, the compostable packaging?
Well, that's the main one. I was thinking about this earlier, and we've got great practices in Australia and Western Australia. Whilst there's smaller, less growers, most of them now have some sort of farm management, fresh care, where they document and they're audited, and our food is very safe.
Yeah, great.
And we've always had a green reputation overseas, but I think it's probably even more so now. So I don't think we're doing anything wrong. It just comes back to, as the growers, I see a sort of a red flag, if you like, in growers overseas, and thinking again about the medjool dates, where you've got the really big guys that have all this machinery. One of them's got a couple of massive conveyor belts that's putting every single medjool date on a little black dish, and it's going through an X-ray, and an X-ray's taking a photo of all sides of it to check the quality of
Wow.
the skin lift and everything about it. And
Is
then
that like the most premium
Yeah.
date?
yeah, well, no, it's just a method of
Wow.
sorting and grading,
Quick
and then it will
sorting.
spit the date off down the line onto the right further
Sheet.
packing line,
Yeah.
where all the packers they've then got a quality of a specific size and skin lift and attribute that they've it's sort of given them a start to go, okay, well, then they're doing a bit further grading, and that's how the grading's done. And then there's other machines that are dropping a certain amount into a tub or a punnet, and so it goes down the line. And those growers, they've got efficiencies, but they're not necessarily doing anything for the quality.
Yes.
And there's Mexican growers that are doing a way better job. They're still doing everything by
By
hand.
hand.
Wow.
So they're only ever going to
So human interaction
Yeah.
doesn't harm. It's, it's having the human touch
Yeah.
and the understanding of the product
Yeah.
and having people who know what it should look like,
Yeah.
know what it should smell like.
And who probably
keeping
takes
that-
the odd one along the
Yeah,
line as well.
that's right.
Just
Yeah.
Yeah.
And having the right environment, temperature controlled environment, and safe food environment that's clean and wash down every day and those sorts of things, sure, but you can kind of go overboard in technology. And
Yeah.
to be fair, the Mexican growers that I'm talking about for medjool dates have very cheap labor that we don't have.
Yes.
You know,
Mm.
so they have
They can
that
afford to
advantage.
have
They can
people.
afford. And he, one grower said to me a couple of weeks ago that if they invested in a machine to replace what a process that certain workers were doing, it would take him 22 years to pay it off
Wow. Yeah.
because
So he's never going to
the
be able
labor
to jump
is,
to that.
it doesn't need to. Yeah,
Mm.
kind of doesn't.
Yeah, we're at a stage where we can make choices.
Mm.
And I haven't always been there, and I'm sure you haven't always been there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is really important to remember that, yeah, not many people have a choice. And when you were talking about, you know, that we have great food practices and we have great growers here, it just reminds me of how lucky we are to find ourselves born and, you know, all living in West Australia, and what an abundant food kind of scape we have here, be it locally grown or imported. So how many hands touched this asparagus
Yeah.
before it arrived
Kimberley or
into
from
that
Albany?
tart? I have to say this
I
one
would
came
say
from
that's-
Victoria, I hate to say.
really?
Yeah.
I wanted to.
Funny how we know where asparagus comes from. We all
Yeah.
look.
Yeah.
Because it's seasonal, so it's not in the shops
It's not
all the
often.
time.
I wouldn't buy it if it
No.
was from overseas. It's just something I get to do now is go, I don't need it.
Yeah.
I won't
Yeah.
buy it.
Mm.
But
But
yeah.
and that comes back to ties in a few of the things I've been talking about, like the efficiency of the retailers and the processes that they have in place for whether it's receiving the produce and storing the produce from their DC and getting it to the store versus
DC is.
distribution center, versus your little corner store or your farmer's market. You know, the farmer's market's a good one because, you know, I regularly go to the Kayella Farmers Market in North Perth. Great market. There's some great fresh produce there.
Are you like looking for new opportunities there?
No, I'm just
You just
going.
enjoy
Just going
No,
for
just
home
go
food.
to the bakery at the
Yeah.
the bakery and get a smoothie and just
Enjoy.
the cute community thing. But
Such a
but they have there's two fruit and veg places there, and it's interesting to me the perception of what people go there go, oh, this guy's just
be-
like he's just come from his farm and he's just,
Yeah.
you know,
grown
he's quite
30
possibly
different
yeah
varieties
like
and picked them yesterday.
and he's quite possibly bought 75% of it from me or someone like me in the market.
Yeah.
But that shouldn't be discouraging because he's come in on a Friday, he's bought what he needs,
Yes.
he's kept it in his cool room,
Yeah.
and he's gone straight to
Sold
the
on
market at
Saturday.
6 o'clock on
Yeah.
Saturday morning, and you're getting stuff that maybe even the day before that on a Thursday night, the growers just bought in. So the length of time and the processes are there, and you're getting really good fruit and veg, and you're getting it at a good price because his infrastructure is a marquee and a trestle table.
Yeah. He can keep the
And-
prices down.
Yeah, so that's a great place to buy produce. And you look at you know, the IGAs can be the same. You know, they might have they've either got a truck in the undercover buyer bay, or they've got a dedicated warehouse that they lease in the Canning Vale market,
Yeah.
and we're taking the produce there and they're distributing it to they may have, you know, about be a good grocer where they've got half a dozen or a dozen IGAs that they're servicing. So, you know, I would say to a shopper to think about the length of time it's probably taken for that produce to come from the farm, and the processes that retailer or otherwise might have,
Yeah.
to have a clue as to how old their produce is and how fresh it is.
I mean, you can go in there and you can taste and you can smell, and then you get home and you eat. And, you know, retailers obviously know that when their fruit and veg looks fantastic, the shop is really appealing.
Yeah.
So you'd hope that they'd be making a big effort to get things turned over, to manage them really well.
Yep.
Do you find that? Do you walk into shops, be that big or small, and go straight to how's the fresh produce looking? And
Yeah, I do. You know, I'll have a look at things that are close to me that I've through my career that I've been more involved with. I'll always have a close look at the strawberries and the dates and what are
The
the
key things that you're
key
interested
things
in.
that the asparagus or whatever.
Ladies and gentlemen, look for Damon in retail stores near the dates or the strawberries.
Secret shopper.
expecting. Yeah.
Secret quality
You
control.
see someone looking slightly dodgy and lurking around that area, it's probably Damon from
Yeah.
No, we
produce.
used to commission people on the East Coast to take photos and have a good look for us, so we have our eyes and ears on the East
Yeah.
Coast for strawberries and dates. And
Perfect.
we don't do that so much anymore. But yeah, we're always, wherever it is, we're always trying to see what's there. And
Yeah, do your homework and keep. That's what you do, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you're in
Well, we're
business that
trusting you.
love, you
Yeah.
just want to keep learning and keep checking everything out.
Totally,
And
yeah.
no, absolutely.
So, do you have any advice for WA shoppers on, how they can spend their dollars wisely when they're looking at fruit and veg?
Yeah, to just be that, like I said, just choosing where you shop wisely. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the big stores if they're, they can have processes that really look after the produce as well and present it well, and just buy with your eyes and smell and touch and feel and if you have a good experience, go back, because there's lots of, our independents in particular are the strongest in the country. We have the highest percentage of
Oh, really? Let's
independent
keep them.
stores.
Oh,
Yes.
my goodness.
So
So important.
so support them
Yeah.
where you
Otherwise,
can,
that choice.
and use others for convenience and whatever you need.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's
Fantastic.
absolutely brilliant. Absolutely.
I feel like I've learned a thing or two about how fruit and veg arrive on my plate and how we should be choosing. Damon, any other things that we've left out completely that you feel like need to be said about the journey of food to our plate?
no, I don't think so. Yeah, like I said, back from the old markets, it's all about looking after the produce now and giving it its best chance we can. The time from harvest to getting into store over the years, just by its nature, has got longer. But if we manage that temperature controlled and do everything we can, then there's nothing wrong with that. And there's
And
great
what's your
produce out there.
favourite season in the
Of
fruit and veg
course,
world?
Strawberry
of
season.
course.
Strawberry season.
I
You
have-
won't
I-
say which strawberry.
Well, I have to tell you a quick story about
Sure.
those strawberries, where when my daughter was playing netball, and every twice a season it was the parents' job to bring the oranges.
Yeah.
So I used to bring strawberries
Of course you did.
and
Very
the
popular.
real big ones, but I'd secretly fill them with dark chocolate.
Oh.
And every time I did it, and they had those at half time, they just went crazy with the natural sugar, and they
Yes.
invariably won the game.
So you're saying
Of course.
it's
Yes.
a sports food.
Yes.
I didn't know we had you in here for nutrition, but I love it. The little bonus tip
Yeah,
from
yeah.
Damon at the end.
Good alternative for oranges.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the girls loved them. It was a huge
Good
success. They look forward to when it was my turn
That's
for fruit.
fantastic. Yeah, when's Damon's turn?
Yeah.
What's your favourite thing to do with strawberries apart from secretly hide chocolate in them, which I
Yeah.
fully approve of?
Well, my family have obviously become accustomed to when the season starts. They go, when are they coming? When are they coming? And look, they're so big, and just eat them like apples. Apart
Yeah.
from filling them with
Keep it
chocolate,
simple.
keep it simple.
And do you think room temperature or from the fridge?
I think from the fridge.
Do you?
Yeah, but it depends on. I think it depends on the strawberry to a degree too. If I think having them at room temperature can give them a little bit of a help with the natural sugars and the flavour. But some others don't need the help. So.
And what is the most common thing that West Australian families are putting on their plate in terms of fruit or veg?
Oh, that's a hard one. That's probably something for a retailer because we specialise in what we do, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a hard one to
Fair
answer.
enough.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay, I'll have to
Yeah.
Googleize that later
Yeah.
on.
You
Yeah.
can't answer that. Don't lie to us. Absolutely.
No, well, it's more probably if you come back to the fact what we spoke about with the berries and how they, banana used to be the number one category, but I think berries are now.
Oh, wow.
And dates. Oh my gosh, the resurgence of, the
Fresh
vegan
dates.
food and fresh
Yeah.
dates instead of
Hmm.
sugar. They still got,
Yeah.
fructose. They're still fairly high in
Hmm.
sugar, but they still got the fiber in them, haven't they?
Yeah.
As well?
Yes,
So
they're a very high
great.
sugar, high calorie.
A good thing to
High
put in your
fibre.
cycling jersey instead of a
Yeah.
gel. Yeah.
Okay. There you go. There's another tip.
If you're happy to chew, go
Sportsman.
for a day.
Yeah.
I know more nutrition tips from Damon. I think at this stage, before this turns into a discussion about nutrition, we'd better say thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Pleasure to have you here. And we've probably all been eyeing off. I can smell the
I know.
Yeah,
I
hungry.
can't wait.
area.
Damon, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Curious Cooks. And if you know someone else who would enjoy this conversation, please share it with them.
We love hearing from our listeners, so let us know what you are curious about. You can follow us on Instagram at Curious Cooks Podcast and keep listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
And if you like to watch and listen, subscribe to The Curious Cooks on YouTube. We'll see you there.